It starts when you least expect it. You're resting after a long day, sitting in your favorite chair, or lying in bed, drifting off into sleep. And then, without warning, a sharp, stabbing pain grips your leg. Your muscles lock up. Your calf tightens like a fist. You sit up in a panic, rubbing, stretching, just trying to make it stop. And when the pain finally fades, you're left with a single question. Why does this keep happening? If this sounds familiar, you're not alone. Leg cramps, especially in the calves, thighs, or feet, are incredibly common after the age of 60. They can strike in the middle of the night, during a walk, or even while just sitting still. They're sudden, unpredictable, and painful. And worst of all, they tend to return. No matter how much water you drink, how often you stretch, or how many supplements you take. For many people, the cramps just keep coming. But here's something most people never consider. It might not be about what you're lacking. It might be about what you're eating. Yes, the real cause of those cramps might be hiding in your kitchen, not in a pill bottle, not in your yoga mat, but in your pantry and refrigerator. You see, as we age, our bodies go through quiet, invisible changes. Our kidneys process minerals more slowly. Our nerves become more sensitive. Muscles may lose flexibility, and the foods we use to digest easily now affect us in different ways. Certain everyday foods can mess with your hydration, your mineral balance, or even irritate your muscles in subtle ways. And over time, those small effects can build up, until one night they strike. Some of these foods are obvious, salty snacks perhaps, but others might surprise you. Even a so-called healthy salad or vegetable can be a hidden culprit. And if you're eating several of them regularly, your chances of nighttime cramps go way up. But here's the good news. When you know which foods to avoid, you can make simple swaps that reduce the pain naturally, no pills required. You can still enjoy your meals. You don't have to give up flavor or comfort. You just have to know what's silently working against you. In this series, we'll walk through 7 common foods that may be triggering leg cramps, especially after the age of 60. We'll explain why they affect your muscles, how to spot them in your daily diet, and what you can eat instead. You deserve to feel confident at night. You deserve to sleep without fear of pain. And most importantly, you deserve the truth, the kind your body's been trying to tell you. So get ready. What you're about to discover could change the way your legs feel for the rest of your life. When something hurts, our first instinct is to treat the symptom. We rub the muscle. We try to walk it off. We look for relief in a cream, a stretch, or a hot bath. But leg cramps aren't just surface-level problems. They're often messengers, small warnings from the body, that something deeper is out of balance. That's why simply drinking more water or popping a magnesium pill might not solve the problem. Because while those things help, they're only part of a much bigger puzzle. Let's take a step back. Your muscles don't work alone. Every time they tighten or relax, they depend on a delicate mix of minerals. Magnesium, potassium, calcium, and sodium. These work together like instruments in an orchestra. If even one goes out of tune, the whole system feels off. Now add in circulation. As we age, blood flow to the legs can slow down, especially if we sit for long periods, have varicose veins, or live with conditions like diabetes or arthritis. When blood flow is reduced, your muscles don't get the nutrients they need, and waste products don't get flushed out as efficiently. The result? Tight, stiff, cramp-prone muscles that fire off at the worst times. Now imagine throwing a few food-related problems into the mix. A salty dinner that throws off your sodium levels, a sugary drink that spikes and crashes your energy, or a vegetable that drains potassium without you realizing it. It doesn't take much. Just 1 or 2 wrong foods a day, combined with normal aging changes, can be enough to trigger those painful nighttime spasms. But here's the tricky part. These foods aren't always bad in the traditional sense. You won't find them in a junk food aisle, at least not all of them. Some are considered healthy. Some are vegetables we grew up eating, and a few are even recommended in modern diets. But what's healthy in one context can be harmful in another, especially when our bodies change with age. That's why understanding your body, your real current body, matters more than following trendy advice. This isn't about fear. It's about awareness. Because once you know which foods affect your muscles, you can adjust gently and smartly without giving up the meals you love. Think of it like this. You're not avoiding food. You're avoiding pain. And in return, you get peace of mind. You get sleep without surprises. You get freedom. to enjoy your day without fear of that next sudden cramp. So what are these foods? What are the everyday ingredients that sneak into your diet and quietly work against your legs? The answers are simple, but surprising. Let's begin with the first food that quietly increases the risk of leg cramps after 60. It's something that shows up on breakfast tables, picnic plates, lunch sandwiches, and even at fancy dinner parties. It's tasty, convenient, and for many, a long-time comfort food. But for your muscles, it can be trouble. Processed meats. This includes things like bacon, sausage, ham, salami, pepperoni, and those thin, cold-cut deli slices of turkey or beef. Even hot dogs fall into this category. Now, let's be clear. The issue isn't the meat itself, it's what's added to it. Most processed meats are packed with sodium, preservatives like nitrates, and even artificial flavorings. When you eat these foods regularly, they quietly affect your body's fluid balance. High sodium pulls water out of your cells, especially your muscle cells. That leads to dehydration at the cellular level, even if you're drinking plenty of water. And when muscle cells are dry, they don't function smoothly. They're more likely to spasm, cramp, or tighten up suddenly, especially at night, when circulation naturally slows down. But there's more. As we get older, our kidneys don't process sodium as quickly as they once did. That means salt lingers longer in the bloodstream. The result? More strain on your circulation, more pressure on your muscles, and a higher chance of waking up with that sudden stabbing cramp. And here's a surprising twist. Even the nitrates and additives used to preserve these meats may interfere with how your body absorbs important minerals, like potassium and magnesium, two key players in muscle relaxation. So if you're enjoying a ham sandwich for lunch, a couple slices of bacon for breakfast, or a hot dog at a family cookout, you might not think twice. But for your legs, that combination of salt, additives, and preservatives can create the perfect storm. You might feel fine during the day, but come nightfall, your muscles remind you otherwise. So what can you do? You don't have to give up flavor or joy or tradition, but you can make simple swaps. Try fresh cooked chicken breast, turkey slices from actual poultry, or plant-based protein alternatives that aren't loaded with sodium. Even slow-cooked beans with herbs can give you a satisfying cramp-free meal. And if you do eat processed meat occasionally, balance it out with high-potassium foods the same day, like a banana, avocado, or spinach salad. That helps restore the mineral balance your muscles crave. Remember, the goal isn't restriction, it's relief. Your muscles will thank you with fewer cramps, better recovery, and deeper sleep. Now that you've seen how one popular food can quietly disturb your muscles, get ready for the next item. A vegetable that many people think is healthy, but might be making your cramps worse. Now let's look at something unexpected. A food often praised for being heart-healthy, low in calories and full of antioxidants. It grows in backyards, appears in salads, and adds color to soups, sandwiches, and pasta dishes. But for some people over 60, this everyday ingredient can trigger painful cramps, especially in the legs. We're talking about tomatoes. Yes, bright, juicy, garden-fresh tomatoes. It sounds hard to believe, but let's look closer. Tomatoes belong to a plant group called the nightshades, a family that also includes potatoes, eggplant, and bell peppers. These plants contain a natural compound called solanine, and solanine, while not dangerous in small amounts, can become irritating to some people, especially as they age. Here's how it works. Solanine is a natural defense chemical. In the plant world, it protects tomatoes from pests. But in the human body, it can sometimes irritate the nervous system and muscle tissues, leading to symptoms like joint stiffness, inflammation, and yes, muscle cramps. And since cramps involve nerves and muscles firing uncontrollably, even a slight irritation can make a big difference. You might notice it subtly. Your legs feel tighter the day after eating tomato-based dishes. Your feet cramp more often after tomato soup, pizza, or spaghetti with marinara sauce. This doesn't happen to everyone, but if you're over 60, your body's ability to process these compounds can change. What never caused issues in your 40s or 50s might start bothering you now. And there's more. Tomatoes are naturally acidic. That acidity can throw off your body's pH balance, which affects how minerals like magnesium and calcium are used by the muscles. Low magnesium? More cramping. Low calcium? Same problem. So it's not just the solanine, it's also the acidity, and how it interferes with your body's ability to keep your muscles relaxed and nourished. Now, does this mean you must give up tomatoes forever? Not at all. But if you're someone who eats tomatoes often, in sauces, stews, or even raw, and you're struggling with frequent leg cramps, it might be worth testing a break. Cut them out for 2-3 weeks and see if your cramps improve. If they do, you've likely found a hidden trigger. And if you don't want to give them up entirely, try switching to low-acid tomato varieties, like yellow tomatoes, or neutralizing the acidity in sauces with a pinch of baking soda while cooking. Also, pair tomatoes with foods rich in magnesium, like pumpkin seeds, almonds, or leafy greens, to counteract any cramp-causing effects. Sometimes relief comes not from removing everything, but from understanding what needs a little balance. Because after 60, your body's signals are clearer than ever. You just have to listen closely. Now we come to a food. That's comfort on a plate for many people. Mashed, baked, roasted, fried. It's one of the most versatile and beloved vegetables in the world. But if you're over 60 and dealing with regular leg cramps, this familiar food may be working against you. Let's talk about potatoes. Yes, humble, hearty, home-cooked potatoes. Like tomatoes, they belong to the nightshade family. And just like tomatoes, they contain a natural plant compound called solanine. As mentioned earlier, solanine helps protect plants in nature. But in the human body, especially as we age, it can irritate our nervous system and muscles. Solanine is more concentrated in certain parts of the potato. The skin, especially if it's green or sprouting, and in potatoes that have been stored too long. Even if you cut off the green parts, the solanine may still remain inside the flesh. So how does this connect to leg cramps? Solanine can interfere with how acetylcholine, a key neurotransmitter, communicates with your muscles. If that connection becomes disrupted, you might experience twitching, spasms, or full-blown cramps in your calves and feet. And if your muscles are already sensitive, from changes in circulation, hydration, or mineral levels, the extra burden from solanine can tip the balance just enough to cause pain. But it's not just the solanine. Potatoes also have a high glycemic index, which means they raise your blood sugar quickly. When blood sugar spikes and then crashes, your insulin levels fluctuate, and those shifts can affect your electrolyte balance. And when electrolytes, like potassium and magnesium, drop suddenly, your muscles can seize up. In other words, eating potatoes regularly, especially in large portions or fried forms, can set off a chain reaction inside your body. Your muscles become tense, stiff, and more prone to painful night cramps. So what can you do? You don't have to swear off potatoes forever, but moderation is key, and preparation matters. Here are a few helpful adjustments. Avoid green or sprouting potatoes altogether. Peel potatoes fully. Most solanine is in or near the skin. Boil or bake instead of frying. Fried potatoes worsen inflammation. Balance your plate with magnesium-rich foods, like steamed spinach or lentils when eating potatoes. And always store potatoes in a cool, dark place to prevent solanine from increasing. For some people, switching to sweet potatoes is a better option. They belong to a completely different plant family, have no solanine, and are packed with potassium and vitamin A. So if leg cramps are part of your nightly routine, consider swapping out your white potatoes for an orange alternative. You may notice a difference in just a matter of days. Sometimes the foods we've known our whole lives need to be reevaluated, not because they're bad, but because our bodies have changed. And understanding that change is the first step toward healing. Let's move to something colorful now. It's bright, crisp, and often praised as one of the healthiest additions to a meal. We slice it into salads, grill it alongside other veggies, and even dip it raw into hummus. But for some people over 60, this healthy-looking food might be hiding a sneaky cause of muscle cramps. We're talking about bell peppers. Red, yellow, orange, or green, they're all part of the nightshade family. And like tomatoes and potatoes, they contain that same natural compound, solanine. Remember, solanine is a plant's defense system. It's how nightshades protect themselves from pests. But when it enters the human body, especially in large amounts or when sensitivity is high, it can interfere with nerve signals and muscle relaxation. Here's where it gets interesting. Bell peppers are often eaten raw. Unlike potatoes, which we cook, or tomatoes, which we often boil into sauces, bell peppers are frequently consumed without any cooking at all. That means the solanine content isn't reduced through heat, and you're getting it in a more active form. If your body is sensitive to this compound, you might experience more tension in your legs and feet, especially a few hours after eating peppers. Some people even report tingling, stiffness, or tight muscles in their calves, especially at night. Now, bell peppers also contain histamines, which can increase inflammation in those with sensitivities or mild allergies. And inflammation can make existing muscle pain worse, slowing recovery and increasing the risk of spasms. So it's a double effect: solanine disrupting nerve function, and histamines increasing muscle tension. Here's what to watch for. Do your legs feel tighter or heavier the evening after eating a dish with bell peppers? Do you notice more foot cramps after eating raw pepper slices in salads or snacks? Have your nighttime cramps worsened after you started eating more healthy stir-fries with peppers and other nightshades? If any of those sound familiar, it might not be a coincidence. But again, this isn't about fear. It's about awareness. You don't have to remove bell peppers forever, but you can test your sensitivity. Try skipping them for 10-14 days. See if your legs feel better, if the cramps reduce, or if you sleep more soundly. And if you do choose to eat them, cook them thoroughly. Roasting or steaming can reduce the solanine levels. Also, combine them with foods rich in magnesium and hydration, like a spinach salad, avocados, or a slice of watermelon. This gives your muscles the minerals they need to offset the possible tension caused by nightshades. After 60, your digestion, circulation, and inflammation responses all change. And something as small as a raw vegetable could create discomfort that didn't exist years ago. The solution isn't always dramatic. Sometimes it's as simple as less raw, more balance, and a little awareness of what your body's telling you. Now let's shift from plants to something savory. This next food isn't a vegetable, but it's one that shows up on breakfast plates, lunch sandwiches, and even evening snacks all across the country. It's convenient, salty, and often satisfying. But if you're over 60 and struggling with muscle cramps, this food may be quietly draining what your legs need to stay strong and pain-free. Let's talk about processed meats. We're talking about items like bacon, ham, sausage, deli meats, hot dogs, and salami. These are meats that have been preserved through smoking, curing, or adding preservatives. They're tasty, no doubt about it. But behind that flavor is a problem most people don't notice. Here's why processed meats can trigger cramps. First, they're extremely high in sodium. Salt, in moderation, is necessary for muscle function. But processed meats can overload your system with too much sodium, which throws off your body's delicate electrolyte balance. Too much sodium means your body starts losing potassium, a key mineral that helps muscles contract and relax smoothly. Low potassium? That's a direct highway to cramps. Second, these meats are often preserved with chemicals like nitrates and nitrites. While they help the meat last longer, they can also reduce blood flow by affecting blood vessel flexibility. And when your muscles don't get enough circulation, especially during sleep, they become more prone to sudden spasms. You might have noticed your legs tightening at night after a salty dinner or a deli sandwich, or maybe your feet cramp in the morning after a high-sodium breakfast like bacon and eggs. It's not just a coincidence. Cramps often come hours after the real trigger, once the body begins processing the load of salt and preservatives. And third, processed meats are low in magnesium and calcium. Those are two minerals your muscles desperately need, especially as you age. So when you eat a food that removes potassium, blocks circulation, and fails to replenish your muscle minerals, your legs start to speak up. Now, what can you do? You don't have to cut out meat, but consider replacing processed options with fresh, minimally seasoned alternatives. Instead of breakfast sausage, try a boiled egg or grilled chicken. Instead of ham in a sandwich, use sliced turkey breast you cook yourself. Instead of hot dogs, try grilled tofu or lentil patties. Plant-based doesn't always mean boring. And don't forget to increase foods that restore balance. Leafy greens like kale and spinach, bananas or avocados for potassium, nuts and seeds for magnesium, and lots of water to flush excess sodium from your system. Another tip: after eating salty foods, consider drinking coconut water or eating a baked potato with skin, but only if nightshades aren't your trigger, to replenish those key electrolytes. This next one might surprise you. It's often placed on the pedestal of health, praised in articles, meal plans, and even cartoons. Packed with iron, full of fiber, low in calories. It seems like the perfect food, especially as we age. But for some people over 60, this popular leafy green may be silently contributing to the leg cramps that wake you at night. Let's talk about spinach. Yes, spinach. It's not bad, it's not dangerous. In fact, it has many powerful nutrients. But if your legs cramp frequently, spinach might be part of the picture. Here's why. Spinach contains a natural compound called oxalate, also known as oxalic acid. This substance is found in many leafy greens and vegetables, but spinach has some of the highest levels of it. Oxalates aren't harmful in small amounts, but when eaten in large or frequent quantities, they can start binding to important minerals in your body, especially calcium and magnesium. These minerals are critical for muscle relaxation. They help your muscles release tension after every contraction. When calcium or magnesium is low, your muscles may misfire or stay tight, leading to twitching, aching, or full-on cramps. So here's the chain reaction. You eat a large spinach salad. The oxalates in the spinach bind to calcium in your gut, forming tiny crystals that your body can't absorb. So instead of being absorbed into your bloodstream and reaching your muscles, the calcium is flushed out, unused. And without enough calcium or magnesium, your muscles suffer. This becomes even more important as you age. After 60, your body naturally begins to absorb less calcium. If you're also eating foods that block absorption, like high oxalate greens, you're stacking the odds against your muscles. Even worse, oxalates can accumulate in the body and may contribute to the formation of kidney stones, which also affect electrolyte balance. Another risk factor for cramps. So what can you do? It doesn't mean spinach is the enemy, but moderation and preparation matter. Here are a few tips. Cook your spinach instead of eating it raw. Steaming or boiling can reduce oxalate levels by up to 40–50%. Pair spinach with calcium-rich foods, like yogurt or sesame seeds, to offset the mineral loss. Rotate your greens. Instead of eating spinach every day, try arugula, romaine, or bok choy. These greens are much lower in oxalates. And make sure your diet has plenty of magnesium, from foods like almonds, black beans, or pumpkin seeds. Also, if you've recently added green smoothies to your daily routine, and you're using raw spinach as the base, that could be a hidden source of your leg cramps. Try switching to kale or lettuce for a week and see how your body responds. The key lesson here isn't to fear healthy foods. It's to understand how they interact with your body, especially in this chapter of life. What worked in your 30s or 40s may need a small tweak now. In burgers, sandwiches, or cold platters, it's also a favorite for those who love fermented flavors or are trying to boost gut health. We're talking about pickles and other foods soaked in vinegar, like pickled onions, sauerkraut, or even apple cider vinegar drinks. Now here's the thing. Vinegar isn't bad. In fact, a little vinegar can support digestion. Pickles can even help with probiotics, especially the naturally fermented kind. So what's the problem? It comes down to acidity and sodium overload, a 1-2 punch that can leave your muscles tight, sore, and prone to cramping. First, let's talk about acid balance in the body. Your muscles function best when your internal pH is slightly alkaline. Too much dietary acid, from things like vinegar, processed meats, and soda, can lower your body's pH and create an environment where magnesium and calcium get used up faster, just to neutralize that acidity. And guess what happens when those minerals are depleted? Your muscles cramp. Now add in the second issue, sodium. Most pickles, even the so-called healthy ones, are packed with salt. That high sodium content pulls water out of your cells, leading to mild dehydration and forcing your kidneys to flush out potassium. This means you lose two important elements, hydration and electrolyte balance. And without that balance, muscles can contract randomly or fail to relax, especially during sleep or after long hours of standing or sitting. Some signs this could be affecting you: waking up with tight calves or foot cramps after eating salty pickles or drinking vinegar shots, feeling stiff in the lower back or thighs after a high-acid meal, noticing more frequent leg twitches when your diet is full of sour, salty snacks. Also worth noting, many older adults are already on medications for blood pressure, osteoporosis, or kidney health. These medications can shift mineral levels. Adding acidic, salty foods on top can further disturb that balance without you even realizing it. So what can you do? You don't have to give up pickles entirely, but consider these simple changes. Choose low-sodium pickles or rinse store-bought ones under water to remove excess brine. Limit vinegar shots or ACV tonics to a couple times a week instead of daily. Always balance acidic meals with alkaline-supporting foods like cucumbers, bananas, and leafy greens. And most importantly, drink more water. If you've had something salty or sour, another tip. If you love the crunch and flavor of pickles, try making your own at home, with less salt and using cucumber, garlic, and dill. That way you get the flavor, without flooding your system with sodium. At this stage of life, your muscles need support, not surprise attacks from your favorite side dish. Paying attention to what's in your glass or on your plate can mean fewer leg cramps, better sleep, and a lot more ease in daily movement.